Take in, boys and girls, it is your boy, Mark Cordone, with Ken Blackman today. Life coach Ken Blackman coming in from Las Vegas. Ken Blackman, who's got a client in 55 minutes. So we're going to wrap up this show within 55 minutes. We know this. Ken, I am so excited that you're here today to talk even more than what we publicized. Relationships. We're going to talk a little bit about your background. We're just going to go there. When Ken and I first talked, Ken, I think we talked for like an hour straight, and I don't think we even took a breath. Like we
Totally.
went into flow. So Ken, and for those
We
of you
knew
who are,
we knew from the beginning this was going to be a bomb ass show.
we did,
We've
and
been yeah.
that's why we coordinated T-shirts and backgrounds too, everybody. So for those of you who have not met me, my name is Mark Cordone. I'm the founder of the Make Money Coaching Program, but more importantly, I'm a positive psychology coach. That means two things, y'all. Two things. The first one is this. How are you feeling on a daily basis? Is it happiness and gratitude that you're feeling? That's a good thing. The second thing is, on a daily basis, are you feeling like you're living in full purpose? If you are, you don't need coaching from me. You're doing well. Um, that's positive psychology for you. And I want to go right into this today, Ken, because we have a lot to talk about. Ken, but I want to ask you this. Are you
Yeah.
living in full purpose and feeling good every single day, brother?
Oh man, like my clients are the highlight of my day. Like my work, I couldn't be happier with my work. I just bought a new house that is my favorite place to live that I've ever had in my life. I just wake up with the sun shining into my room in the morning. Like I am thrilled with my life.
That's absolutely fantastic. And we're gonna touch first on where you came from. But for
Yeah.
those of you who are watching live or those of you who are watching the replay, if you're feeling like Ken, if you're feeling good and you're functioning in full capacity with fulfillment, give Ken and I some hearts. We want to see you giving us some feedback. Ken's giving the hearts right now.
Right
Look at
on.
us in stereo, black shirt stereo right now. Give us some hearts if you're watching the replay. Give us some hearts if you're watching live. Thanks, y'all. Now, think about this. You might not be feeling great today, right? You might have a migraine. It might be raining. You might have had a really crappy weekend, right? So you're not feeling great. Or you might be in full transition right now and you're not knowing what your purpose is. You know what? That's super cool. That's part of the journey, y'all.
Yeah.
Your heart is beating just like everybody else. Give us a thumbs up because you're living life and you deserve to live it. Remember those ups, downs, and all arounds. It's a part of it, y'all. It's a
And
part of happiness. Yeah,
and
Ken.
hitch a ride on our energy for an hour and take it with you into your
Yeah,
life.
let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, here's the other thing, y'all. I was wondering if Ken was going to do this. So let's see if he's going to do it. If you're feeling optimistic about the future, there's another button down there, everybody. There's another button if you're feeling optimistic about the future, your future, where you're going tomorrow. That button is the wow face. Give us a big old wow face if you're feeling optimistic about the future. Ken, I want to see what your wow face looks like. Yo, Ken did it. Ken made the wow face. Booyah. You got a full on viewer from that, Ken.
How
Awesome,
could I
man.
not?
So with that said, Ken, we're going to go into some of these topics today. But I think what we just talked about in complete earnest right before we went on the show was people don't aspire to be life coaches. So I'm curious, what's your story?
Yeah. So I was a software engineer. I was successful, man. Like I was a software engineer at Apple for 9 years and a couple other
Mm-hmm,
companies. I was successful by most measures, but
mm-hmm,
man, like the one area, one black spot in my life that wasn't working was my relationships with women. And
mm-hmm.
like nerdy, geeky software engineer, like we were all that way. And I needed to crack that code. So I was wondering what I was going to do, like go and get like, am I going to go, dancing or whatever? Like, what am I going to do? I certainly didn't want to do like the pickup scene or anything like that. That
Sure.
wasn't. So I happened upon this group that was teaching men and women how women's bodies work, how their body works
Okay.
in the bedroom, and also like man woman dynamics in this way that I didn't hear anybody or see anybody talking about. And it changed my relationships with women so thoroughly that I was like, this is the work that I want to bring to other people. Like I want other people to have good relationships. And I got a really, really, really different sense of how relationships work and how things, how to have it be great, how to have things be great in the bedroom. And I ended within less than a year, I quit my job and I started, training with my mentors and stuff like that. And I I wanted to do this work because of how it changed my life. And then, after about 9 or 10 years, I got sick of it, as a person does, and I got back into tech, which a decade in tech is like 100 years, right? So it's like Rip Van Winkle. But I succeeded. I got back into tech for 1 year. I got back into my Tetris brain, the
Yeah.
logical, like, here's how the pieces work and all logical and everything. I did that for a year. And then after, what happened was, and I didn't think I would ever go back into this work. And what happened was I started having conversations with people where they'd be like, I'm having this experience. And I'd be like, well, have you ever thought about it this way? You know? And they come back a week later and say, Ken, thank you so much. You really changed our relationship. You changed my life. And I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, Ken, like I was withholding something from the world that the world needs. And that I had, like, it was selfish of me to have this, this body of wisdom and experience and just be my, Clark Kent, working
Right
at
on.
some video advertising agency. So I jumped back in. That was like 7 years ago or 8 years ago that happened. And I've never looked back. Like, this is the work that I do. And this is what my life is. And, you know,
Yeah. Now, are some of the things that we're going to talk about today some of the aha moments that you had from, I guess, from the coaching that you went through yourself, or is this that plus the 18 years of sort of experience that?
they got me off the ground, but mostly this is, the other thing that happened recently is I did a complete reset on everything that I teach, everything that I coach. Like I just said, I started from ground zero. Like, for what are my first principles about man-woman dynamics? What are my first principles about intimacy, about communication? What are my first? And I just started I threw everything out. I started from scratch and I started to come up with what I believe to be true. And then I would do like little lectures and workshops and test it out with people and use it in my coaching. Like, does this actually work? And so from that, I kind of developed this new way of understanding, like, what actually works for people. What do I see out there that's actually working for people? And it's certainly not the 1950s, like men are the providers and the protectors and women are the nurturers, because we got some fucking powerhouse women out there.
Yeah.
And men need to come up with a very different way of understanding their role in the relationship. These women do not need protection. It's great if he's bringing in money, but that's not the purpose of the relationship, right? Like, he's not going to measure his value on whether he's bringing in a lot of money or he's the provider. So what is it? Like, what is it that is actually happening? And so he gets to this very, very different understanding of the real reason why they're together, the real reason why, what his true value in the relationship is. And it's none of the things that we've been taught.
Okay, so there's a million ways that I can go here, and right now you just blew the script wide open.
I
And Ken,
know.
we're gonna go
Okay.
with what you just said, man. I think the first thing that I wanted to recognize was I love the fact that in your reboot of your teaching, you still have scientific methodology in
Yeah.
there with a feedback loop.
Oh
So,
yeah.
like, for anyone who just missed that, like, I thought that was such a great way to bring both sides of the brain together, right? You
Yeah.
have new wisdom to share, but also at the same time, you're looking at the feedback loop to see, is the shit really working right now, right?
Oh,
Um, yeah,
and I've had like some of my best articles are the ones where I wrote and I said, oh my God, I was wrong. I've been saying this the whole
Yep.
time, and I just realized that it's actually this. Like,
Yeah.
I have no problem being wrong and coming up with what the better thing is. Like, I don't
Yeah.
have any ego attached. Like, I just want the information to be out there, right? It's not about
Yeah.
me. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love the lack of set it and forget it. It's
Yeah,
always getting feedback and broadening and building on that. Now I
totally.
do want to get on some of the stuff that you have been learning about, some of the stuff that you're talking about when it comes to um, especially this male perspective. I guess what started coming to mind for me was this idea of masculinity, toxic masculinity. I was just working on an
Totally.
article about that. Called Bromances Gone Bad. And so it's funny at first, but then it's like, oh man, like we don't really talk about bromances and what happens when they go bad. We just separate because men don't talk about their feelings. So,
Yeah.
like, I also wanted to talk about some of these things about what is it that's happening when it comes to men, uh, the perception of men and women. Are there biological things that you've seen? Is it
Yeah.
archaic knowledge being passed down that it's time to break that? What are you seeing when it comes to this stuff, Ken? I know that's like a triply loaded question,
No,
but
I
I
mean,
just want you to
it's
continue, man.
the question. It's the question, right? So
Yeah,
let me share you, like,
yeah.
this is something, it's so funny. I'm going to share with you something that I end up talking about almost every single time. So, like, anyone who's been following me is going to know exactly what I'm going to talk about here, but I really want to share it with your audience.
Okay.
So there is this myth, there is this idea that men want sex and women want love, or that men barter love in order to get the sex and women barter the sex in order to get the love. That couldn't be further from the truth. And instead, um, it's almost the opposite. So let me tell you how this works.
Mm,
So think about this. You learn, the first thing to look at is what kind of technologies do men and women turn to supplement or to, like, be a stand-in for a relationship, because that's where, like, the money, where the where people spend their money tells you a lot. So for women, like, it's vibrators.
uh-huh.
So there's this huge sex toy industry that's mostly funded by women right now, and it's vibrators. Men mostly turn to porn.
Yep.
So this isn't news to anybody. Like, but what does it tell us? First of all, there's a physical component. Like, women want their bodies taken care of. Like, there's a physical component that is very, very, very important to women, and it's not getting handled in the bedroom, right? Or they're just not happy, right? And men, so porn or dolls, like, that's where they spend their money, or sex workers, right? So what do those things have in common? And it's like, what they're looking for is, like, another human being to have an experience with.
Mm,
Like, when they buy a sex toy, like, in the parlance of the sex toy industry, women buy toys that stimulate, men buy toys that simulate.
mm.
So like, men's machinery is super easy to, like, their men's machinery isn't complicated. Like, they're capable. It's easy for them to experience physical pleasure in the bedroom, and it's harder for women. So what women are hungry for, what they want is, they want, if they're going to be in the bedroom, they want their bodies well handled. They want proper, to have a proper somatic bodily experience with somebody, so that they're not always experiencing, like, empathetic, like, they have all the empathetic experience that they want, right? Their partner's having a good time and they're enjoying their partner's good time, and they end up having this vicarious experience. No, they want their bodies taken care of. They want the somatic experience. And
Mm.
men, the somatic experience is easy. That's the easy part. Like, they don't even need a partner for that. They can go
Yeah.
but what they're hungry for is connection. What
The
they're
part,
hungry
yeah.
for is shared experience, the empathetic experience. So
So,
it en-
Ken, if it's that ass backwards, and as you're saying that, I'm like, when we look at industries, right, those are thriving industries,
Right.
right? Uh, How is it that we're getting the message that ass backwards?
Oh, I don't know. Like it's just
Okay,
because the physical component is the easy go-to for men, and the empathetic is the easy go-to for women. But it's
gotcha. So
not
it's
the
almost like the
thing,
superficial level.
right? But it's not the thing they hunger for. It's not the thing that the nutrient that they're hungry for in connection. And
Yeah.
so I get together with, I work with these couples and their sex life is kind of messed up. And this makes them both uncomfortable because I put all the attention on her, right? Like I put all the attention on her pleasure, her pleasure, her pleasure. So she's uncomfortable because, man, it's so funny. You can have it be, honey, all you have to do, you don't have to do anything. All you have to do is lie back and enjoy. That's all you have to do. I'm going to pleasure you. There's no cost, there's no nothing. And guess what happens? She struggles with it. Like what's going through her mind is, am I doing it right? Is
Hmm.
what I'm doing pleasing to him? Am I moaning right? Am I putting on a good show for him? Am I doing it right? Right? She can't drop into just it's a leap for both of them to put both of their attention on her pleasure and for her to fully receive it. It's just uncomfortable.
Okay.
And so for him, like if he's never done this before, it's 10 times beyond what he's ever done before. But what happens is once she starts to have, they put aside all of the showiness that she might do, the exaggeration that she might do. Like, don't do any of that. Like, don't do any of that. Just like be exactly who you are and enjoy it. And as she starts to make this switch from putting on a show of enjoying it to her body's getting off, like it's real, like she
Hmm.
is deeply enjoying what's happening right now. All of a sudden, he starts to realize something that he's getting something that he's been hungry for the whole time, and he didn't even know it. Like he's getting a nutrient from that interaction that he didn't realize was the thing he wanted the whole time. That has nothing to do with his genitals. Like he loves when his crotch is involved, his genitals are involved. But this separate thing, he gets to experience it, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, this is the thing I've been hungry for the whole time." And she's like, "Oh, this is the thing that I've been hungry for the whole time." And then they bring that back into the rest of their sex life, and it's a completely different experience.
Okay. So, am I hearing that you are kind of decoupling the idea of just a physical act of sex and then intimacy, and helping the couple
Yeah.
with both? Because
Great
oftentimes, yeah, okay,
topic.
okay,
Great topic. So, there's this very common idea, and it's true. It's true that the best, like the real erogenous zone is the brain, right? Okay, so we'll grant that. The real erogenous zone is the brain. But you have to remember, like, let's get back to what our bodies do. Like, do you have the basic skill of having mastered your partner's genitals? Can you physically, somatically pleasure your partner? And often women know how to pleasure their male partners, and men do not know how to pleasure their female partners. So, like, once whatever else is going on, do you know how to pleasure your partner's body? Then I am all for, like, intimacy. Sex with intimacy is super important. Sex with intimacy is a whole nother level. But it can't be that it's all about the candles or the music or all these other things, and not be about the physical body. Like, let's at least know how our bodies work. Then, like, the vulnerability that is involved, and the intimacy that's involved, and the connection that the two of you have, then you can take it to this whole other level where, you know yeah.
So Ken, how would you define intimacy? Is that something that I'm almost seeing that as something that doesn't need to even happen with sex. That's something that you can just work with a couple on.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, you know, ideally you want your partner. This is someone that you have decided you're going to spend the rest of your life with. It is
gotcha.
the person that that um you've made a decision that this is a person maybe that you're going to live with. This is a person you want to share life with. That person had better be someone that you can tell everything to, like everything. And I train couples like there it's gonna by the time you're done working with me, there isn't going to be a topic that's like, oh, she doesn't need to know that, oh, he doesn't need. No, 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 this is, you're going to know each other everything, and that's where the richness of the relationship is, right? Like when you tell someone that you haven't told anybody, or you tell someone you think they're with you because of this and this and this, and if they knew this other thing, it jeopardizes
Yeah,
the relationship. And
yeah,
nope, that's not right. They're with you because of the intimacy of sharing those things. It's the experience of being seen and being chosen anyway. That's the reason you're together.
yeah. I love that you bring that up because I think just in the idea of coaching in general, one of the biggest things that can be disempowering is the idea of feeling invisible to any
Yeah,
other person,
right.
and the fact that you're bringing that up in intimate relationships and sex in partnership is super amazing because that's the person aside from work that you're probably going to spend the most amount of time with,
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
you can't lie yourself into a good experience in the bedroom. Like you can't lie or fool or facade your way in, and because the purpose of sex is to experience connection for both people. And
Yeah,
so, you
okay.
know,
No,
you can have your bodies rubbing against each other and still be disconnected. And
yeah,
that's, and
absolutely.
you miss out on the real reason you guys are there.
So, Ken, are you?
How the hell did we end up on sex as the focus here? We
I
had
don't freaking know, man. I
so
don't
many
freaking
topics to
know.
pick, so but this is
I
good.
don't.
Let's just keep running with it.
This is why when we did like the 5 minute pre-interview, I was like, we could talk about all of these things for like 2 hours long, man. And I think the thing that I did want to follow up with is I'm not sure about the nature of your clientele, whether they're in new relationships or they've been in relationships for a while. But I did want to go to the sort of the after the novelty of of a relationship has fallen and you're used to, I wouldn't say used to your partner, but you've been with your partner for a while.
Yeah.
Do you usually see people coming in? They're like, "Bro, it's gotten stale, man," or it's fizzling. Like,
Yeah.
what is often happening when you see that?
Well, so there's something I know that they don't, that gives me an advantage here and will give them an advantage, which is that the human brain is the most complex object in the known universe. That's what science is telling us. That we look out into the universe and we have not found an object that has more complexity to it than the human brain. And I promise you, and this is to everybody that's listening to this, you can spend the rest of your life getting to know this person in front of you. But what happens is, um, this idea that we need variety is actually an addiction to overstimulation. So it's only an overstimulated brain that starts getting hungry for
Hmm.
variety. Like, um, but the truth is that this human being in front of you, you're going to spend the rest of your life getting to know them. And so I teach them how to do that. Um, so that like it could be that their relationship and their love life for sure, but the relationship as a whole is better at year 20 than it was at year 19, is better. Like there's the potential for them every single year on their anniversary to look back and take stock of what took place and say, that was the best year we ever had. And then year 22, they look back and they think, man, you know what? That was the best year we ever had. that is that's why, that's why we have this kind of inner idea that it's possible to have a great relationship with people, is because of that.
Yeah, Ken, I do have to say someone's tuning in right now. Her name is Marla. Just giving a shout out.
Marla,
Marla, we love
so
you
glad to
too.
see you.
It's good to see you. Ken, I did want to follow up with this because
Yeah.
I think the idea of what you're talking about in terms of brain work, changing of perception, um, almost wiring of neural pathways.
Yeah.
So if this is, I mean, we can talk about sex for another 2 hours and then go into the Me Too and all this other stuff that we had planned, y'all, jealousy and all this stuff. But I do want to ask you this. In the work that you do with the overstimulated brain, the overstimulated mind,
Yeah.
what are things that we can do in order to understand that novelty can happen? This is what I wrote down. Novelty can happen with with a partner that we've had every single day of our life, and the novelty
Okay.
is getting to know that person. So how can you change that overstimulation?
Um, so I'll give you an example. So I'll give you
Yeah,
two examples, actually.
perfect.
So,
Okay,
so, well, let's talk about porn just as an example of this thing, right?
gotcha.
So, what happens with porn is that there's this stimulation that goes into your brain, and then you masturbate to it and you have an orgasm, and the orgasm is the reward center is lighting up, and boom, 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 it's firing off. So that creates that creates wiring between the stimulation and the reward, right? So porn is a learned thing. The more you do it, the more your brain is being trained, and it gets rewired to respond to that
Yeah,
stimulation, right? Well, guess what? You can do the same thing with your partner. You can actually, every time you do what it takes to have great sex with your partner, you rewire your brain to have her or him be the stimulation. So you get to this place where you've been together 20, 30 years, your bodies aren't the same as they were in their youth, but oh my god, like, just the sight of your partner getting undressed is the biggest turn on you can imagine, because you've had this series of positive experiences together that just makes it richer and fuller, and your partner, you've acclimated your partner to being the thing that excites you.
I absolutely love that. I mean, essentially, you're taking something like a dopaminergic hit, right?
Yeah.
The same way that porn and drugs, gambling, it's all the same part of the brain, y'all, right?
Right.
And
So
so that yeah,
you just take a hold of that natural mechanism, and instead of it like sending you off into oblivion, and like, what the bad part of that is, oh, it's like this other thing and not your partner. Well, you just take the reins of that mechanism, and you make it be that you are each other's bombest thing, right?
yeah. With the bombest thing, this is what I absolutely love about that is that the brain is absolutely one of the. I was a neuroscience major. I don't know if you
Okay.
know that, Ken. And
Okay.
so, like, I'm
So
nerding out
what
right
grade
now.
what
So
what grade do I get so far? Like B
uh,
B plus? Am I
A
in
plus
the
plus
ballpark at least?
A plus 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 plus, bro.
Okay,
You've
good.
always gotten an A plus. You always will.
Okay.
Um, but I think one of the things that I've always loved is when you figure out how the myelin sheath and the gray matter works and stuff like that. And we don't have everything down. We're not even close. But
No.
when you understand some of those loops, and I think everyone's using the word hack nowadays. And since you did work in software,
Yeah,
you can hack that brain in the same way
totally.
that you can hack a computer,
Yeah.
to turn your partner into a positive trigger.
Oh, totally.
What I'm hearing, right? Yeah,
And the same thing, like all of our cultural conditioning around what men are supposed to do and what women are supposed to do. I just take that shit and hack it to, like, I exploit our beliefs. They don't have to be true or false. I actually make use of them to have a couple have a great relationship.
So I do want to go into okay, a couple things, man. You got a brother Nick who just clicked on this. Two amazing human beings takes one for the one. Nick,
Yay!
it's good to see you,
So
brother.
good to see you.
We got Marla coming back in. Yes, to acclimate that my
Yeah.
partner is what turns me on. F to the yeah. Sticking a U in there, and you know what she's saying. Nick Welney dropping some heart faces on us. It looks like you're hitting the nail on the head with a couple people, Ken. If you
Yeah.
guys are watching the replay, definitely comment on this one. This is probably one of the most unique and focused conversations we've ever had. Ken, talk. I do want to come back to the cultural implications of this, because when you're talking about the cultural nonsense
Yeah.
that were implanted, I'm still not understanding when you said something as frank and as matter of fact as men are much more wanting of partnership than cultural norms say, and
Yeah.
women are much more wanting of just straight up pleasure than what
Yeah.
cultural norms say. I don't understand why that's something that's continuing to be implanted. I know that if I go out there and turn on the TV, they're going to be norms. There's going to be
Yeah.
cultural norms,
Yeah.
right? And so I still don't understand that. And do you think that they're archaic at this point, or do you think that they serve a purpose?
I think that they're archaic. I think that they can be just seized and hacked and utilized. But I also just think, I said this at the beginning of the call, but it was the 1950s when we had, since the 1950s that we even had a model that everyone kind of agreed on, and it kind of died and imploded on itself, and thank God. But we don't have a new model. We don't have the model that allows a woman to be everything that she's capable of being, to be like as smart and successful and capable and confident and sexually assured, like in ownership of her own sexuality. Like, women are out there feeling like somehow if she's fully who she is, somehow that's like a strike against her in having a great relationship, and that she has to dial it back and give him some wins and stuff like that. So my life's work right now is to describe what the new model is. Like, all of us in the long term, all of us are what we're hungry for. The reason why we're drawn to each other is for connection.
Yeah.
And so all the stuff that we think, all the stuff that we look for in a partner, like, attractiveness and money making or sense of humor, like our checklist, right? Whatever that checklist is, like I'm looking for a guy who has a sense of humor. Or I'm looking for a woman, like whatever that checklist is, isn't anything more than just our best guess as to the conditions that will lead to us having the experience of connection. But that's the thing we're actually after. So I end up taking these guys who are wondering, like, what's my value going to be to this woman? She doesn't need anything. Well, that's right. She doesn't need anything. What she needs is connection. What she needs is someone, her, like a co-conspirator in life. That's all. That's what you need to do. Like, develop you're going to be valuable to her if you develop your intuition.
Yeah.
You're
well,
going
and
to be.
Ken,
Go ahead. Yeah.
Ken, I wanted you to answer this as well, but I think you kind of did already. You talked about how we all are these sort of creatures that are longing for connection.
Yeah.
And I did want to recognize that this conversation was a very heteronormative conversation.
It was a very heteronormative conversation.
And I don't know if that's exactly where we thought we would go, but also at the same time, just for the sake of the amount of time that we had, in an age where gender is becoming much more fluid, right? Yeah. Where there's no dichotomy as much, where in terms of this is a man, this is a woman, this is what the expectations are. Yeah. I think that idea of we are all humans seeking connection is much more, it feels much more along the lines of like, this is much more settling for me, and this feels like a much more universal topic, because the idea of gender norms is even, there's different stands for it in Eastern, Western, whatever culture you come from, you know?
Well, let me say something about that, because I came from San Francisco. Like I'm a San Francisco native. I was born in San
Right
Francisco,
on.
so I grew up,
I can
like the
tell a lot of
LGBT
Filipinos.
capital of the world, right? That's the Mecca, right?
Yep.
Where we recognize that people, have difference. Nobody falls into the actual binary thing, right? And
Yep.
so that was the milieu in which I grew up and was grown. And there was a moment when I was teaching classes for people on like how to touch a clitoris. That like about 6 or 7, 8, 10 years, no more than that, fucking 15 years of my time. The primary thing I focused on was teaching people how the clitoris worked. And there came to a point where I got all kinds of people in the room, and there were transgender and stuff. And I had this like, how do what do I do here? And there was a moment in class that I remember really clearly where I had to say to somebody, there's gender, and then there's like the physicality of our genitals. Well, this class is about the genitals. And so instead of talking about men and women then in that class, I was just using the language like, if you are the possessor of a clitoris, then this is what we're talking about. If you are not the possessor of a clitoris, then this is what we're talking about. But at some point, I decided to unapologetically focus on the cis hetero couple, because I have some solutions that, man, they need some help. They need some help in a way the rest of the world doesn't. And I want them to catch up with where the rest of the world is. And so I just made this decision, like, instead of putting a lot of languaging into like to neutralize it, I'm just going to be unapologetically cis hetero right now in this time in my life, and tell them the thing they need to know. And there's all these cultural things, and I just exploit them and use them for their benefit, right? So
totally understood. And I love the fact that you went forward and you're like, this is unapologetically my niche, because I trust the fact that the community will have other people that will niche and help me with this movement work. Right.
And I trust that the stuff I'm saying is universal enough that that the lesbian couples will continue to say, you're not talking, we don't have a penis holder in this relationship, and you're saying something that we need to hear. So, that happens too.
Unbelievable. Ken, dude, it's 45 after the hour, and we thought we were just going to hit the 30-minute. I told you, bro. I told you. Let's go to a couple more things. I've got a question for you, but we got Walter. We got Walter in Canada, a life coach in Canada, saying men seek for intimacy. That doesn't just mean sex. Very true. He's feeling it.
Oh, I need to say something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I need to say something. Okay, so out in the world, people don't talk about they don't use the word sex. Like, there's all these euphemisms like find your passion. Like, passion, when they use the word passion, they actually mean sex. They use the word intimacy, like, oh, I'm into intimacy, and what they mean is sex. Like, and I'm like, those words mean something very specific to me. Like, passion is the emotional fuel and juice. I want that word to be used for that. Like, I want that word to be used for that. Intimacy, like closeness and a vulnerability and sharing something, touching with someone, right? Like, I want that word to be used for that. So when I talk about sex, I'm going to use the word sex.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Love it.
Yeah. And I saw up there that thing about, intimacy is to be found in vulnerability. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. We got Walter asking another question. I know you got a client at the top of the hour, so I'm going to respect that. But Walter is asking, how does role expectations affect the ability to assimilate to new paradigms?
Okay. So I only do this once I have people in a formal coaching relationship. I'll tell you what I do, but I only do this once they're in a formal coaching relationship so that I can carry them all the way across this threshold because it's hard to do by yourself. But I'm going to tell you what I do. We throw all your expectations out the window. You are entitled to nothing. You are to expect nothing
Mm.
because that creates this open-ended thing where you guys actually get to look at each other for the first time and say, what's actually here? What's the real reason we're together? Like, you know, if you have on the one hand the chemistry that got you guys to be together, like this thing that drew you together, like these luminous being to luminous being, you had this moment that brought you together. And over here we have all of our like our checklist and all the things that we think about how relationships are supposed to work, blah 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 blah. Well, this is going to be this. If this is in conflict with the real thing that's happening between two real complex, quirky human beings, you know, the expectations have got to go. We're going to see what's actually there between you, and we're going to build your relationship from the ground up based on why you're actually together, who you actually are. And it may look nothing like what you thought. And be open to the possibility that it's going to be better than what you thought. Because what can happen between two human beings is beyond, it's more profound than what we thought was possible.
Absolutely love it. Walter, I hope that answers your question. We got Jorge coming in from Puerto Rico. Jorge, I call you out every single time.
Jorge.
When will you learn to recognize our guests? It's not the Mark show, it is the Ken show today. And Ken, speaking of that, I've got your email address and I wanted to mention what you said in the email. Mention Mark for a free consultation. What does that mean, bro?
So, I'm not going to like lure you in with, free this and that. Like, if you're interested in having a fantastic relationship, it could be good and you want to see what it's like for it to be like, you don't know what you don't know. You could be struggling and on the brink of breaking up. I don't care. But if you want to make a big leap forward in your relationship, email me. We're going to skip all over the funnel and everything. Just email me, start a conversation, mention that you watched this show, mention Mark, and let's just have a conversation, like an open-ended conversation. And we'll see what the possibilities are for you that you didn't even know about, or the things that you thought were impossible that you're going to be shocked that are possible for you.
Ken, this is crazy talk. You're throwing out the funnel, man. You're
I
throwing
know.
out the funnel, Ken. This
Yeah.
is crazy talk. Ken, y'all, I wanted to just recognize you, Ken. Again, the first time we got on our call, I think we went an hour and a half. We went a while and we didn't come up for air and we could have kept going.
Yeah.
Ken, it happened again. Lightning
Right?
has struck twice, man. We went into just one tiny point of what Ken does. Ken can talk about the Me Too campaign and the nuances of men taking the boundaries. There's so many things we could have talked about today, Ken.
Totally.
But I'm really happy that we focused on one thing and we didn't just superficially skim the surface. And this is something that
One thing that wasn't even on our list, but it was the thing that needed to be talked about.
Yeah, and that's just the way that it goes. I'm happy that it came up. Ken, let's keep in touch with Ken. I want you to like Ken. I want you to love Ken. I want you to want some more of Ken and share this out.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
I have two Facebook groups. One is for people who really want to know about this new paradigm for relationships, and a private group that's more where I can talk more explicitly about sex and how sex can be great. So ping me on Facebook and I'll add you to one or both groups.
Okay. Awesome. So we got two Facebook groups. Ken, your name is right there. So all you got to do is click on Ken's name. Get those groups, y'all. Ken, this is why it's called the Golden Mic. I'm going to go in traditional coaching form now. Laugh it up if you want. I'm going to go back into my funnel self. But Ken, I want you to visualize that a golden microphone is coming down from your beautiful Vegas home right now, right? Exactly. And it's landing right in front of you, Ken. This is the beautiful thing about this golden mic is that the golden mic is going to translate into every single language all across the world for 2 minutes. So I'm going to flip the switch. And Ken, you're on the golden mic.
Yeah. Oh, what do I do? Oh, got it.
Yeah.
So, so what was a big turning point for you that had it be that you're now bringing this to the world?
Oh, you talking to me?
Yeah, isn't that what you wanted? That I get the golden mic and I'm interviewing you?
No, you've got the golden mic and you can say whatever you want into it, and the whole world is listening. And Ken, the golden mic is live.
Okay, so all right, so be nice to each other. Like discover why you guys are really together. You guys are going to be fantastic. You know, like life is amazing. You know, you don't always have to have a problem in order to have things be better. Like wake up in the morning and say, life is good and I have a want list. Like, let it be like that. Life is great and I have a bucket list. I have a want list. That doesn't mean things are bad. How's that?
I absolutely love it. You can take my golden mic and do a mic drop on it right now. What I loved was you had like Butterfingers with the golden mic at first, and you were interviewing me with it, and then you realized that it was on you, and you just crushed it, Ken. Ken, I wanted to thank you again. Ken at kenblackman.com. There's also 2 Facebook groups. If you personally message Ken, that he'll let you into. Keep in touch with Ken. This was a fantastic episode. And I'm hoping that we can have you back on at some point, Ken.
I would love to. You got it. Anytime.
Absolutely. I'm your boy, Mark Cordone, life coach. And I got an additional question for everybody who's been watching today. If you're feeling good and you're living to your life's full purpose, what is your responsibility to the greater good? So again, Ken and Mark, we're signing out. Have a great one. Ken, you got a client. So do I. So I'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Take care. Bye.